What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. Several separate outbreaks of Delta and Omicron cases continue to spread through the country today as China's zero cases policy gets put to the test. As of noon yesterday, Tuesday, a total of 97 residents in Tianjin had tested positive for COVID-19. That number has increased today, and cases from Tianjin have spread to the Henan city of Anyang on Monday, with dozens of cases being discovered in the city of 5 million. Another new city, Dalian, in the northeast, has discovered cases today as well, and the economically critical city of Shenzhen in the south continues to find new local cases. The situation remains very concerning in Henan province generally, as well as in the city of Xi'an, now in its third week of lockdown in the province of Shanxi. The cities of Tianjin and Zhengzhou are still only in limited lockdown, even though 97% of flights out of Tianjin's airport have been cancelled, but 3 cities with almost 20 million people in total are under full strict lockdown. These are Xi'an with 13 million, Anyang with 5.5 million, and Yuzhou with 1.1 million people. International analysts are increasingly concerned about the serious effects these outbreaks and the highly disruptive methods of containment will have on China's economy. For example, US banking giant Goldman Sachs Group has cut its forecast for China's growth yet again. According to a research note published by its analysts, the bank is cutting its GDP forecast for China in 2022 from 4.8% to 4.3%, very slow by modern People's Republic of China standards, and it could drop much more if major cities like Shenzhen or Shanghai are locked down. Goldman Sachs cites COVID-related restrictions, which will be partly offset by monetary and fiscal easing, as the reason for the downgrade, and it is only assuming the outbreaks can be controlled. If they cannot be controlled, then growth will be hit even more. This forecast is below the median projection of 5.2% growth for the world's second largest economy, based on a survey of economists conducted by Bloomberg News. We should also point out that as China has still yet to transition to a more sustainable growth model, or even to get through its Evergrande triggered housing crisis, so the slower growth is still reliant on fast credit accumulation. That is to say that even though it's growing at a lower growth rate, growth is still slower than debt accumulation and is thus not sustainable by definition. Analysts at Morgan Stanley also said they saw downside risk to their first quarter growth forecast this year, as Omicron could, quote, imply more costs than benefits under China's COVID zero strategy. In the wake of the unrest in Kazakhstan, it's becoming increasingly clear that China is unwilling to do much outside of statements and will allow the Russians to do most of the heavy lifting in the crisis-hit Central Asian economy. Leadership and state media have been highly supportive of Russia's so-called peacekeeping mission in Kazakhstan. They've also claimed that the unrest is the result primarily of interference from the United States, with General Secretary Xi Jinping himself expressing, quote, China opposes external forces, deliberately creating unrest in Kazakhstan and staging a color revolution, end quote. Foreign Minister Wang Yi reiterated this point yesterday, expressing, quote, we are jointly opposing the penetration and interference from outside parties, end quote. As we have discussed in previous videos, the Kazakhstan unrest is consequential for the People's Republic of China for several reasons. First, it is a key region. It is in a key region of geopolitical competition with Russia, Turkey, and others. Second, the country provides China with energy imports, so energy security is a factor. And third, Kazakhstan shares a long border with China's sensitive and potentially unstable Xinjiang region, where large numbers of non-Han Chinese ethnic groups live, including Kazakhs. Interestingly, two-time Minister Karim Masimov who had deep ties to China and was known as a member of the pro-China camp, was removed as the head of the National Security Committee last week and has since been arrested on charges of treason. Meanwhile, the state-run Global Times suggested in an article yesterday, Tuesday, that Kazakhstan could learn from China's actions in Xinjiang, expressing, quote, "Some worry that extremism in Kazakhstan, a country that borders northwest China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, may spread. Just like China's Xinjiang years ago, the Central Asian country is a victim of the gradual infiltration of global extremism and terrorism. However, peace and stability have long been restored in Xinjiang thanks to the Chinese government's efforts to curb the spread of extremism in the region. This might provide countries like Kazakhstan with some valuable experience." End quote. Okay, next up, in a piece published with CF40 this week, Peking University professor Lu Feng wrote that the employment situation in China in 2022 is not promising. On the one hand, graduate students in recent years are the main part of around 15 million potential new employment positions. This year, the writer predicts, there might be 10.76 million graduates, an increase of 1.67 million, far exceeding the increase of 350,000 in 2021 and the average increase of 300,000 over the decade before 2021. On the other hand, the downward pressure on the economy adds to the mission to maintain steady macroeconomic growth in 2022, thus placing more pressure on achieving the goal of full employment. So what will be done about this? Any government official anywhere in the world will tell you that lots of unemployed, educated young people is a dangerous state of affairs. Well, it appears the state is expanding to soak up the jump in fresh graduates, with perhaps as high as 50% of new graduates getting state sector jobs. Chinese financial media outlet Caixin Media found that 49.3% of respondents in a recent survey of more than 20,000 graduates from 34 colleges across the country got a job in the civil service, public institutions, and or state-owned enterprises. This is based on a report published last week by the Institute of Economics of Education at Peking University. Okay, this leads us nicely to our economic and financial developments part of the video. Quickly, if you're enjoying the episode, don't forget to hit that like button. It's the only way this video can be shown to new people. And if you're watching this for the first time, you're getting some value from the episode, maybe consider subscribing, hit that bell notification, and you'll have the most up-to-date analysis when I release these every day. Okay, let's move on. Last week, we followed the major crackdown on China's private education sector, which destroyed hundreds of billions in market value and resulted in hundreds of thousands of jobs lost. This week, there has been several reports looking at the fallout of this crackdown on New Oriental Education Group, previously a major player in the sector. The founder of New Oriental, China's largest private tutoring company, or it used to be at least, announced over the weekend that last year the company had to lay off over 60,000 staff, paying over $3 billion in severance packages. The founder also expressed that the company's revenue collapsed 80% in 2021 and its market value dropped almost 90%. Sales of new energy vehicles are up in China, according to the China Passenger Car Association. In December alone, retail sales of new energy passenger vehicles stood at 475,000, up 128.8% year on year. A big part of the success is due to generous state subsidies for the purchase of electric cars. Subsidies, however, that are now being rapidly reduced. Foreign brands like Tesla have seen huge sales in the People's Republic of China in this environment, but lots of local brands have also popped up to take advantage of the market demand. Now, on a similar theme, today, Wednesday, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology published official data showing that China's vehicle sales rose 3.8% last year, while production increased 3.4%, marking an end to the downtrend the industry has experienced over the past 3 years. And last up, we of course need to keep following the China Evergrande housing crisis. One of the underreported aspects of the Evergrande housing crisis is the risk to the highly exposed financial industry, which has lent a lot to property developers. But today, Bloomberg published an excellent report about how, quote, an ill-fated push into property lending has instead turned China's Minsheng Banking Corp into one of the biggest casualties in the real estate debt crisis that's riling Asia's largest economy, end quote. The piece is reporting that this major bank is taking hits because of increasing losses on loans to Chinese property developers, including China Evergrande Group. Minsheng's stock tumbled 31% in the 12 months through last week, the worst performance in the 155-member Bloomberg World Bank's index. So how much exposure are we talking about? Well, according to the estimations made last year by analysts with Citigroup Inc., Minsheng has about 130 billion RMB, approximately $20 billion of exposure to high-risk Chinese developers, amounting to 27% of its so-called Tier 1 capital, the most among big Chinese lenders. The piece argues, correctly in my view, that Minsheng's situation offers a warning to global financial firms that are investing billions of dollars to expand in China. Quote, bets that seem like sure things can quickly sour when the nation's policymakers decide to change course. End quote. Local media reports that the bank, founded in 1996 as China's first non-state controlled lender, is now in serious damage control mode. Ultimately, though, if the housing crisis is indeed systemic, any further deteriorations in the sector will pull down more developers, which would in turn affect more banks, sparking wider financial contagion. Hey guys, I'd love to hear what you thought about some of the updates we covered in today's episode, so throw your comments below. Always love hearing from you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.